Last spring, I attended the Spiritual Care Network, the provincial gathering in, where were we? Loon Lake, I believe, outside of Maple Ridge. And each of the participants was given the gift of a book by Parker Palmer called The Active Life, A Spirituality of Work, Creativity, and Caring. And I have found this to be a profound little book. And it just happened to have a chapter on Jesus in the desert, the temptations of action. And so I thought, that's great. I shall glean from this little book for this very Sunday. And then I thought, not so great. How do you summarize an entire chapter in a few minutes while being brilliant, creative, and original? Or relevant, powerful, and spectacular, which is what Parker Palmer suggests are the temptations that Jesus faces. Let's see what happens, shall we? And for today's purpose, I'll probably interchange devil and tempter. The temptations listed in the story only take up 12 verses. Surely any of us could manage a pop quiz on the last day of a lovely day 40 retreat. But Luke says that Jesus was tempted for 40 days. In other words, a whole time, the long time. And so welcome to the constant presence that confronts, questions, twists the truth, and creates the doubts. We begin with the devil using Jesus' hunger as an opportunity. But the main temptation isn't to do a magic trick. It's not even about satisfying his hunger. This is more than the temptation to be relevant to the situation, more than if you feed them, they will come, which actually worked quite well for us this weekend, don't you think? Here we are. Parker Palmer said the taunt takes a familiar form. If you are the chosen one. If. And though a few of us get needled for supposing we are the chosen one, although I've occasionally heard, get off the cross, we need the wood. The tone of that taunt should remind us of these voices within our own heads or outside around us. Really, if you are so able, if you're such a good parent, if you're a real man or a woman, if you are truly the caring person you say you are, the temptation to prove our identity is one we all struggle with. At least I think most of us want to have a sense that we need to prove who we are. But identity on whose terms? Jesus' idea of being the chosen one, or the Messiah, was radically different than what the tempter was suggesting. The second example we are given is, I will give you power. When we hear of Jesus' flirtation with the idea of power, the tempter says, all this is mine, to do with as I will, and this is your lucky day. I will give it to you. And all you have to do is worship me, acknowledge that I am the source of all you need. But note that power here means power over, not power with or power for someone else. Palmer says that there are two illusions that go with power over. First of all, power over will keep us from being immersed in the suffering of those under our power. Illusion number one. This weekend as a presbytery, we recalled again, and some heard for the first time, the roots of the apology to First Nations people, begun courageously by the congregation of St. Andrew's United Church in Port Alberni in the mid-1990s. And as I was reflecting on this and reflecting on the age of our youth, I think, oh, right. Most of them weren't even born when this was happening. Yesterday morning, we watched the DVD Fallen Feather, a vitally important look at the Indian residential schools and the solution to the Indian problem, as it was called, in our local area. If we had any illusions that we could keep from being immersed in the suffering of those under our power, that illusion was definitely broken. And the second illusion, power will not corrupt us. Well, at least it won't corrupt me. You just don't have to think for too long before you can think of numerous examples of things going sideways. Senate scandal, anyone? Besides, is power the devil's to give? Palmer says, people cannot give away what they do not have. And yet 1 million exchanges are made every day in which people promise to do exactly that. Just think of your favorite TV ad. Buy this body spray and you will have gorgeous women swarming around you like cats in heat. Actually, it's more likely to give your girlfriend a headache, migraine. Get this educational degree and you will have status and dignity. Or a big student debt and a job for which you are overqualified. How about you're not just buying a home, you're buying a lifestyle. Yes, that's also called debt or mortgage. When Jesus quoted scripture back about worshiping and serving God alone, he wasn't just being pious. He was stating a fact. Power and glory are not the devil's to give, or the tempter's to give. They belong to God alone, and only through God can we share power. Throw yourself down. We move to the two can play this game, part of the temptations. Throw yourself down from the top of the temple, says the tempter. For scripture says. And so, even the devil can quote scripture. Henry Nouwen calls this the temptation to be spectacular. If you make bread, then you have to deal with hungry people. If you accept power, you have to govern disgruntled people who will send you petitions and annoying emails. But to just be spectacular, wow. No obligations to anyone. And if you can jump unharmed from the top of a temple, especially if you can do it repeatedly, you'll get invited to lots of parties. Watch what our friend can do. It's so lovely. And I expect, at least I wonder, that when we live in such a highly individualistic society, that the pressure to be spectacular is particularly great. Whether it's pushing everything else out in our life in order to reach Olympic gold or nothing less, as noble as that may be, or whether it's committing acts of violence that say, look, I have the power, pay attention to me. We want, in some way, to be noticed. Or you might find yourself wanting to sing, I am the very model of a modern parish minister. And I would go on, but I don't know the rest of the words, so I digress. Is it okay not to be spectacular? Is it okay to just let your light quietly shine and not be a firecracker? Again, Palmer writes, when I think of the great works we are called to in our lives, works we avoid at peril of our souls, I think of works in which we cannot possibly be effective. I mean such things as loving other people, opposing injustice, comforting the grieving, bringing an end to war. There can be no effectiveness in these tasks, only the commitment to work away at them. And if we judge such work by the standard of measurable outcomes, the only possible result will be defeat and despair. When my dad and I get on the phone together, we razz each other. We razz each other about our jobs. Oh, it must be nice, Dad says. Only have to work 1 hour a week. To which I respond, yeah, it's really nice, Dad. Sure must be nice to be retired and sit around and not do a darn thing. And we both know that the work we do doesn't look very effective. So, may I just ask how many of you retired people didn't do a darn thing this weekend? We got to learn from you. Didn't you say, Lorraine, well, since we're retired, I think we could just, pull off the food stuff. Yeah. Yeah, piece of cake. And once more from Parker Palmer. Jesus' ability to see through the illusion is at the core of his resistance to the devil. His ability to see through the illusion is at the core of his being able to resist. He knows that right action does not require us to be relevant, powerful, or spectacular. It only requires that we respond faithfully to our own inner truth and to the truth around us. It only requires that we respond faithfully to our own inner truth and to the truth around us. The right action is no more or less than the action that is right to make, taken without anxiety about the results. If right action is taken with integrity, its outcomes will achieve whatever is possible, which is the best that anyone can do.